Liberal Viewer presents.
So, welcome to the January 20th edition of Liberal Viewer Monday Media Mixup, the final episode of my Monday Media Mixup. I'm still going to keep making videos, probably 3 or 4 a month, but just no more regularly scheduled live streams after 12 years of doing Sundays then Mondays. Thanks for joining me and Cheech on this Inauguration of Donald Trump Monday. I have picked out 14 clips, some from the inauguration news today, to add my political commentary and media criticism to make a fair use program out of the clips I've taken from the big five corporate outlets of ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and Fox News, the so-called corporate media here in the United States. Switched that up a little for the last time. And this is going to be about the Trump first day, and I'm calling it Donald Trump Dictator on Day One. The reason for that is a comment that Donald Trump made back on a Sean Hannity town hall. I actually used it as one of my political comedy clips, and I'm going to have a few political comedy clips to start off the show, as usual. I used it as one of my political comedy clips. I think it was December 10th, 2023, I think, when I took this clip from that Monday Media Mix-Up, where, and it was funny because Sean Hannity had done this whole big setup. I showed a couple different clips where he set up how Trump wasn't going to be a dictator, and he was getting attacked by the media for stuff he never really said, and then he says, oh yes, I am going to be a dictator on day one, back in December 2023 in this clip.
Little break. I want to go back to this one issue, though, because the media has been focused on this and attacking you. Yeah. Under no circumstances, you are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
for?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border, and I want to drill.
That's
drill,
not. That's
drill.
That's not.
No, no.
That's not retribution. I got.
I'm gonna be. You know, he keeps. We love this guy. He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, "No, no, no. Other than day one, we're closing the border." And we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator.
So that sounds to me like you're going back to the policies when you were president. All right,
exactly.
Take a break. Just getting started. We're in beautiful Davenport, Iowa.
So, yeah, it would, maybe some people, of course, on Fox News, they said that got blown out of proportion because he was just talking about drill, baby, drill, and closing down the border. And he has signed a bunch of executive orders on all of that today. But for me, the big tell on whether he was going to be an authoritarian is how he dealt with the pardons for the January 6th rioters. And that's why I postponed the beginning of my show to see exactly what he signed, because, if you want to be a dictator on more than just day one, if you want to be an authoritarian, you need some street troops. You need your brown shirts or whatever. And for Trump, that's the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. And he commuted the sentence of all the Proud Boy and Oath Keeper leaders pretty much. And then he pardoned everybody else. It was the most sweeping pardon of the January 6th rioters, insurrectionists, whatever you want to call them, that you could imagine. I'm going to show you that. I'll talk about that later when I show a couple Republicans claiming that Jim Jordan and Representative Jim Jordan and Speaker of the House Mike Johnson claiming he's not going to, or wouldn't be right, or he's probably not going to, or he's going to do what Vice President J.D. Vance said and only the nonviolent crimes. No, that's not what happened. In fact, I can show you that here. It's I took a little cut and paste from the order here, and I put a link to the whole pardon in the video description under sources, and I put it in the live comments before the show started. You can see he names the heads of the the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Like 14 people, he commuted their sentences to time served. And then everybody else, convicted of offenses related to the events near the Capitol on January 6th, get a full, complete, unconditional pardon. And you can go read it yourself on the website. So that tells me more about whether Trump's going to be a dictator on day one, more than anything else. But there was one person who I guess thought Trump was going to be a dictator on day one, or this was like all over the internet. I saw people discussing it in the live comments before my show. Elon Musk, the I don't know, the co-president with Trump, or I don't know, one of the oligarchs taking over our country, maybe. This is how he reacted to the election or the inauguration of Donald Trump today, with a thankful gesture from the heart. Thankful gesture from the heart. But if he just kept it on the heart, it would have been okay over here.
You know, there are elections that come and go. Some elections are, you know, important, some are not. But this one, this one really mattered. And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you. My heart goes out to you.
That was kind of an unfortunate gesture. Cheech is right behind the camera there. I had to reframe the camera because the cats moved it after the last live stream. Hopefully they won't do it while I'm broadcasting here. But yeah, Elon Musk, stop it. Psst, psst, go away. Yeah, Elon Musk. Sorry, Cheech was about to knock over the camera there. So Elon Musk made a very unfortunate gesture, and I mean, he's supposedly one of the smartest men in the world. You don't think he knows that gesture is not something you want to do on Dictator on day one day? I don't know. You can let me know. I mean, it's not the most important thing to focus on, that's for sure. And I saw people before the show started saying it was getting blown out of proportion. On Fox News and the right-wing media, they're saying it's the first hoax of the Trump administration, the Musk Nazi salute that didn't actually happen. So I don't know. It's already controversial. I saw it as I was just going to use it kind of as my political comedy, but also, there's some ridiculous things that Trump proposed in his inauguration speech that I also wanted to highlight. Some of the speech, he read it in this monotone, and it talked about how terrible the United States was and how only he can fix it, and he was saved by God when a bullet pierced his ear to make America great again, which I always wonder when he says he was saved by God, did God not like the guy who got hit by the bullet who was behind him? That never makes sense to me. But here is something else that doesn't make sense to me, three really weird promises or policies that he put into his inaugural speech for some reason over here.
America will reclaim its rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth, inspiring the awe and admiration of the entire world. A short time from now, we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and we will restore the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley, where it should be and where it belongs. President McKinley made our country very rich through tariffs and through talent. He was a natural businessman and gave Teddy Roosevelt the money for many of the great things he did, including the Panama Canal, which has foolishly been given to the country of Panama after the United States. The United States, think of this, spent more money than ever spent on a project before and lost 38,000 lives in the building of the Panama Canal. We have been treated very badly from this foolish gift that should have never been made. and Panama's promise to us has been broken. The purpose of our deal and the spirit of our treaty has been totally violated. American ships are being severely overcharged and not treated fairly in any way, shape, or form, and that includes the United States Navy. And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
Even like one of the supporters there seemed a little dubious about the taking back the Panama Canal, but that would be like a violation of international law and a treaty that was actually ratified by the Senate, which, we don't even get the Senate to ratify our international agreements anymore, but that one made it. And so that would, and renaming Denali after Mount McKinley again, and Gulf of America. That's all kind of ridiculous. And along with some of the really terrible things he already did on day one, like removing us from the Paris Climate Accords and the World Health Organization, and of course, trying to get rid of birthright citizenship. People born in the United States are citizens of the United States with an executive order. That's all pretty terrible stuff, which is why this next political comedy clip was I didn't think that funny, or I can't say I agree with Dave Chappelle's monologue on Saturday Night Live. I've been watching Dave Chappelle since like the 1990s. I saw him in a small club in St. Louis, and I think Dave Chappelle is one of the funniest comedians over all that time period. And he's gotten some trouble with his some of the jokes and statements he's made about transgender people. And I didn't think his monologue was that funny on Saturday Night Live. It wasn't as good as it wasn't as good as other Saturday Night Live monologues he's done. I put the whole monologue at a link down in the video description under sources. The way he ends it here, there's like one little joke about how Trump watches the show Saturday Night Live, but it's mostly kind of like pablum, like not up for the moment with all the bad things Trump is doing. Like, he's saying we're all counting on Trump, and I don't think we're all counting on Trump. But here, I'll play the end of his monologue that we can watch together over here.
Presidency is no place for petty people. So Donald Trump, I know you watch the show. Man, remember, whether people voted for you or not, they're all counting on you. Whether they like you or not, they're all counting on you. The whole world is counting on you. And I mean this when I say this. Good luck. Please do better next time. Please, all of us, do better next time. Do not forget your humanity, and please have empathy for displaced people, whether they're in the Palisades or Palestine. Thank you very much, and good night.
I don't know. Are we all counting on Trump? I mean, I can't put myself in that category. I'm not sure what that means, but I think I know what he's trying to say, but disappointing. The whole monologue was pretty disappointing, but I did find something kind of funny over on Fox News Sunday. I'm going to play this before I get to the news summaries from longest to shortest and the newsmaker clips from the other networks. I didn't take a newsmaker clip from Fox News Sunday because they didn't really ask about the dictator on day one stuff, or the January 6th pardons, or the worst they did was they asked Dave McCormick, the new senator from Pennsylvania, like, what about these 4 Trump nominees that someone in the press is saying are headaches, but they never said like what's controversial about any of the, Kash Patel or Pete Hegseth or any of the other ones. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And anyway, I'm trying to remember who the 4th one, but it'll come to me while we're watching the next clip, which is only 28 seconds long, from Fox News Sunday, where they talked. Well, I put 2 parts of Fox News Sunday together to show that this is really a Fox News poll about what Tulsi Gabbard. Sorry, he came to me while I was talking. Tulsi Gabbard is the fourth headache nominee, but Fox News never said what was a headache about any of them. But here they did show their Fox News poll of the top priorities for Trump's day one, and that's and there's something humorous about it. Maybe you'll catch it, but I'll show you after we watch that clip together over here.
Okay, up next, our Sunday panel returns to talk about what Americans say they want President-elect Trump to prioritize on day one. Yeah, and when we ask Americans, though, there are all these huge foreign policy issues bubbling, what their priorities, they think President-elect Trump's priorities should be. They have immigration and deportation first on the list here at 13%, but really the next two kind of go together. Economy, jobs, inflation, high prices together, they're at 24%. Karl, where does he start?
Did you catch all the items on that Fox News poll and the margin of error? Here, take a look at the screenshot again. The margin of error is plus or minus 3 points, which means all of these are tied. Like the top one at 13% could be 10%, and the bottom one at 9% could be 12%, which means the bottom one, which they never discussed on Fox News Sunday, the number one priority for Trump's day one, according to this Fox News poll, could be resign/quit. Resign/quit. I didn't even notice that the first time I watched it. It took me like a second watching before I noticed that. And that is my final political comedy clip for this final Monday Media Mix-Up before I now go to the news summaries from longest to shortest. There was breaking news on Sunday, the ceasefire and hostage deal between Israel and Gaza. By the time I get through the CBS News Face the Nation one, I'll probably get demonetized because there's Israel, Gaza combat sort of footage in there. That happens a lot. It's happened like 2 of my last 3 live streams got demonetized. One of the reasons that I'm not doing this anymore. Well, not the main reason, but that'll be the second clip. It was kind of a choice for the shows. Are they going to cover the Israel-Gaza ceasefire hostage deal or the upcoming Trump inauguration and some of the terrible things to expect from that? On Fox News Sunday, well, I mean, they actually did both, but not the terrible things to expect from the Trump administration, but they had Trey Yingst in Israel and then Peter Doocy at the Capital One Arena talking about the inauguration, and the longest of the news summaries that I'll start with from Fox News Sunday. Then Shannon Bream, of course, starts with her breaking stories, and her breaking stories are the Tik Tok ban, the winter storm in winter, which I think several times that's been a breaking story, but it's winter storm in winter that's moving the inauguration indoors, so it's topical this time. And then the Israel-Gaza ceasefire to Trey Yingst and Peter Doocy over in this clip.
Hello, live from near the Capitol here in Washington for a special inauguration preview edition of Fox News Sunday. First, a quick look at your headlines. TikTok and 10 other apps owned by the Chinese company ByteDance have been removed from Apple, Google, and other major stores. Under new law upheld by the Supreme Court, providers could face massive fines if they offer the app. President-elect Trump says he would, quote, most likely give TikTok a 90-day extension to work out a deal after he enters office tomorrow. More breaking news on that coming up. Millions of Americans in the Northeast are bracing for a blast of snow, followed by bone-chilling temperatures impacting travel and leading officials to move tomorrow's inauguration indoors for the first time in 40 years. And the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is now in effect after 15 months of war. 3 female hostages are set to be released at any time. In a moment, we'll get reaction from Pennsylvania Senator Dave McCormick, a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. But first, let's check in with our chief foreign correspondent, Trey Yingst, in Israel. Hello, Trey.
Shannon, good morning. After 470 days of war, 3 Israeli hostages are coming home. There was a slight delay in implementing the ceasefire agreement this morning after Hamas failed to hand over the list of hostages to be released. This prompted fresh Israeli strikes across Gaza. Shortly after Hamas did release the names, they are Romy Gonen, who was kidnapped from the Nova Music Festival, Emily Damari, a British Israeli who was taken from Kfar Aza, and Doron Steinbecker, who was also taken from Kfar Aza. They'll first be handed to the Red Cross before being transferred to the IDF and taken to a local hospital in central Israel. Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar discussed the exchange today, talking about the Palestinian prisoners who will be freed in order to bring them home.
The framework for the release of the hostages, including heavy prices for Israel. Any agreement with a terror organization is a bad event. Releasing terrorists from our jails is a heavy price.
Inside Gaza today, we saw these images of Hamas gunmen parading through the streets of the Strip. The group is claiming victory in the war. Shannon?
All right, Trey Yingst in Israel, thank you very much. Now back here in Washington, senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy joins us live from the Capital One Arena. That's where President-elect Trump is going to be holding a rally this afternoon. Hello, Peter.
Shannon, good morning. The president-elect is on the ground here in Washington, D.C., and he was greeted upon arrival with a huge fireworks display high above the Potomac River, parallel to his golf club in Sterling, Virginia. The trip from Palm Beach had the Trumps riding a blue and white Air Force jet for the first time in 4 years. The president-elect is teasing some big news from Monday afternoon after a day of festivities moved indoors, apparently because of the extreme cold. He's going to order Tuesday immigration raids to begin deporting illegal immigrants. He's teasing an order to save TikTok at least for a few months. The Wall Street Journal is reporting he would like to visit China in person in short order. And the president-elect is telling ABC the theme of his second inaugural address is going to be unity, strength, and fairness.
The support for President Trump in this city and across this great country is much louder and much greater than the defeated resistance that opposed him on November 5th and may continue to this day. But President Trump is going to be a president for all Americans, from red states and blue states. He is unifying this country.
The next president is going to start his day on a solemn note with a wreath laying at Arlington National Cemetery before returning to the district for this event at Capital One Arena, typically home to the Wizards and the Capitals, but today home to the Village People, Kid Rock, and the next president. Shannon?
You got a lot of friends there with you waiting. All right, Peter Doocy from the site of that rally this afternoon. Peter, thank you. And joining us now, Pennsylvania.
So, yeah, that was the Fox News propaganda outlet for the Republican Party news summary. Nothing about the dictator on day one moves that are so controversial today that I already talked about at the beginning of the live stream. They did spend about half the time also talking about this Mideast peace deal or ceasefire and hostage deal that pretty much took up the entire Face the Nation news summary with Margaret Brennan and going to their reporter Elizabeth Palmer, much more of a balanced report on some of the problems that the Palestinians face over in this clip.
Good morning. As we come on the air, there is good news to report. We are awaiting official word that the first 3 hostages have safely crossed the border out of Gaza and are back home in Israel. But what you are seeing here now are the crowds awaiting their return. They are, and CBS can confirm, in the custody of the Red Cross. We begin today with our Elizabeth Palmer reporting from Jerusalem. Liz?
The day began with a tense delay as Hamas failed to identify the hostages it was going to release, and then Israel launched fresh attacks on Gaza. Then suddenly at 11:15 local time, the ceasefire fell into place. The first 3 hostages released by Hamas were handed over to the Red Cross in Gaza to begin their journey home. Romy Gonen, who was kidnapped from the Nova Music Festival, Emily Damari, and Doron Steinbrecher, both seized from their kibbutz, Kfar Aza. That was 471 days ago when, on October 7, 2023, Hamas terrorists abducted or killed more than 1,000 people in southern Israel. Within hours, Israel's military was bombing Gaza. 15 months later, it's too soon to say the war has ended, but it is on pause. Hamas and some of its supporters were celebrating the ceasefire as a victory. As part of the deal, Israel is supposed to release almost 100 Palestinian prisoners from jail later today. Mohammed al-Halabi is expected to be one of them. His family in Gaza is waiting anxiously. He was arrested when I was only 3 years old, says his daughter Rihal, and I'm now 12. There are scars on both sides. Noah Argamani, a former hostage abducted at the Nova Festival, was rescued after 8 terrifying months.
I live in a fear every single day. I didn't want the guarders to suddenly lose control and kill me. All the terrorists was armed with many weapons, knife and grenades. I live in a war zone. Every second felt like the last second of my life.
So much could go wrong with this complex deal. For a start, it has to hold for months if all the hostages are to be freed. And it depends on two parties with internal rifts. Israel's government, whose right wing is fiercely opposed to the ceasefire, and Hamas, which has a weakened and divided leadership.
And there's no reason why they should trust each other.
Gershon Baskin is a former hostage negotiator.
So there will be breaches?
Definitely.
Is there a mechanism to deal with the inevitable accusations and breaches and hiccups?
This time around there is. It's called Donald Trump.
Everyone who wants this deal to hold is pinning hopes on Washington's authority. That includes Gazans who are hungry and desperate for aid to arrive, and the hostages' families who want their loved ones back, alive or dead.
We're joined now by Congressman Mike Waltz.
Yeah, that was a good, extensive reporting on the situation in Israel and Gaza, better than what you saw from Trey Yingst. But, you know, there was Elizabeth Palmer showing like scars on both sides and footage from what's going on in Gaza. And that, like I said, that's probably the clip that's going to get this video demonetized because there were people shooting guns. There was gunfire in that clip. And you know, I think there was like someone yelling Allahu Akbar in that clip. So that's typically is the thing that gets my live streams demonetized. We'll see what happens. But that is, like I said, a much more fair and balanced portrayal of the situation than you saw from Fox News Sunday. They talk about it somewhat over on ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos. Jon Karl tries to put together a few different topics for the news summary. It's the beginning of the new era with the new presidency and the Middle East hostage release, and then they transition to the Tik Tok ban with like expert or their reporters talking about the Tik Tok ban is that really the most important topic to start the program with? But you can let me know what you think after we watch the first 3 minutes or so of ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos yesterday together over
Good morning. Welcome to This Week. We come on the air this morning on the precipice of an historic moment, one that feels more like the beginning of a new era than a new presidency. Whether you are hopeful or whether you are fearful, there is no denying major changes are coming. Donald Trump is about to become just the second ex-president to come back into office, the man who was the 45th president, soon becoming the 47th. He arrived here last night, staying at his golf club just outside of Washington, where he and soon-to-be First Lady again, Melania Trump, took in a fireworks show with family and supporters. His incoming White House staff also arrived, armed with dozens of executive orders ready for Trump to sign on day one. Here is the scene outside of the Capitol this morning. It is cold, and it is about to get much colder, forcing tomorrow's inaugural ceremonies indoors, something that hasn't happened since bitter cold temperatures forced Ronald Reagan's inauguration inside some 40 years ago, a move Reagan joked about in his speech.
We stand again at the steps of this symbol of our democracy, or we would have been standing at the steps if it hadn't gotten so cold.
All four living presidents, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama and Joe Biden say that they will be there with Donald Trump as he is sworn in inside the Capitol Rotunda, inside the very building that was attacked by rioters shortly before the last inauguration. Trump will also be honored tomorrow by some of the biggest names in business, including the three richest Americans, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg. Their goodwill towards Trump is something new. 4 years ago, many of those now honoring him saw him as a pariah. This morning, you'll hear from one who never stopped supporting Trump, an architect of his 2016 victory, and today, one of the most influential figures in Trump's MAGA movement, Steve Bannon. Bannon has harsh words for Trump's newfound big money friends. He tells me they are coming to Washington tomorrow as a form of surrender to Donald Trump.
As soon as Zuckerberg said, I've been invited and I'm going, the floodgates opened up and they were all there knocking, trying to be supplicants. So I look at this, and I think most people in our movement look at this as President Trump broke the oligarchs. He broke them, and they surrendered.
Much more of that coming up. But first, we go to two major breaking stories this morning involving Trump and outgoing President Biden. In the Middle East, a long-awaited hostage and prisoner exchange between Israel and Hamas begins to go into effect. We'll have the very latest on that in a moment. And this morning, a huge story affecting some 170 million Americans. The wildly popular social media app TikTok has gone dark, shutting down following a Supreme Court ruling this week upholding a ban on the app unless it is sold by its Chinese parent company. ABC's Elizabeth Scholze and Rachel Scott joins me now with the latest on TikTok's.
So should that TikTok ban really be the most important story to go more in depth after that news summary? I don't really think so. And they didn't really go that in depth in the threat from Donald Trump on day one that I think should be explored more. And I think of all the news summaries, the one that came closest to exploring it is the NBC News Meet the Press news summary from Kristen Welker that I will talk about a little more after we watch it together over here.
Good Sunday morning. Tomorrow, a new chapter in our nation's history gets underway. Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States, making him the second president ever to serve non-consecutive terms. President-elect Trump telling me in an exclusive phone interview on Saturday he is ready for that moment, including his decision to move the inauguration indoors. He said while it was a hard decision, it was the right one, adding, I think it would have been dangerous for a lot of people. He will take the oath of office and deliver his inaugural address from the Capitol Rotunda, which last happened for Ronald Reagan's second inauguration in 1985.
We stand again at the steps of this symbol of our democracy, or we would have been standing at the steps if it hadn't gotten so cold.
President-elect Trump also told me in that call the theme of his inaugural address will be unity, strength, and what he calls fairness, saying, quote, we went through hell for 4 years with these people, and so, something has to be done about it. Former Presidents Obama, Bush, and Clinton will be at the ceremony, but will not attend Mr. Trump's traditional inaugural lunch. Among those not attending tomorrow, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and former First Lady Michelle Obama. Ahead of the inauguration, a parade of Trump cabinet picks is making the rounds on Capitol Hill as the president-elect prepares to sign what he told me will be a record-setting number of executive actions.
On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history.
You promised to end birthright citizenship on day one. Is that still your plan?
Yeah, absolutely. Starting on day one, we will end inflation and make America affordable again. I'm going to be acting very quickly.
Within your first 100 days, first day?
First day.
First day.
Yeah, I'm looking first day.
Issue these pardons.
These people have been there, how long is it, 3 or 4 years?
The Trump administration was expected to begin large-scale deportations as early as Tuesday with an immigration raid planned in Chicago. But Mr. Trump's border czar said on Saturday the administration hasn't made a decision yet after early details leaked out in press reports. The world is also responding to Washington's power shift with a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, setting up a possible reprieve in the 15-month war. Both President Biden and President-elect Trump trying to take credit.
Thank you. Who takes credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump? Is that a joke?
If we weren't involved in this deal, the deal would have never happened. And it was so ungracious of Biden to say, oh, he did it. He didn't do anything. If I didn't do this, if we didn't get involved, the hostages would never be out.
And joining me now is the Republican Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
And I'm going to have a clip of the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, talking about how Trump is not going to go all out on these January 6 pardons or something to that effect. But before I get to that, and Representative Jim Jordan also on the underestimating how the scope of what Trump's pardons for the January 6 protesters or rioters, insurrectionists, police officer assaulters, the pardons are much more extensive than everyone was expecting. Oh, speaking of what everyone was expecting, look, it's Chong. We had a live shot of Cheech at the beginning. Now Chong has showed up. I have a bonus Cheech and Chong clip at the end, but it got messed up when I imported it. It's supposed to be in like portrait mode, but it got turned to landscape mode in my software here. I don't know if I can fix it till I play it, but anyway, there will be a bonus Cheech and Chong clip as well at the end. But I have to, before I get to Jim Jordan and Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, I have to show you the final news summary, the shortest one. CNN's State of the Union kind of balanced it between Trump inauguration and Mideast peace, or Mideast ceasefire and hostage deal over here.
Hello, I'm Dana Bash in Washington, and we are covering breaking news this hour. A ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is now in effect, and the Israeli military is beginning a partial withdrawal in Gaza, as vehicles from the International Committee of the Red Cross are in place in Gaza, ready for Hamas to hand over 3 hostages, all Israeli civilians captured on October 7th. Doron Steinbrecher, Romy Gonen, and Emily Damari. These women have spent more than a year in captivity. And while Israel is mobilized to bring them home, aid trucks are waiting at a different border crossing to bring more aid into decimated Gaza. We will bring you that all live as it happens. And we are also going to look ahead to Donald Trump's inauguration tomorrow. His team, of course, is closely monitoring the developments out of the Middle East. Here with me now is Donald Trump's incoming national security advisor, Mike Waltz.
And that's the last of the news summaries. I don't have a clip of Mike Waltz because the next clip I'm going to show you is Representative Jim Jordan on CNN State of the Union. Dana Bash actually did a pretty good job of talking about how many people were charged and convicted on January 6th of violent offenses. Now, remember, I showed you this excerpt of Trump's pardon commutation order he signed tonight. There's a link down in the video description. You can read the whole thing, but basically he is commuting the sentences of these 14 Proud Boy Oath Keeper leaders, and then he's granting a full, complete, and unconditional pardon to all other individuals convicted of offenses related to events that occurred at or near the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021. So it's a huge, sweeping pardon of basically everyone who did anything. Keep that in mind when you hear Dana Bash's question about what some of the January 6 insurrectionists did to Jim Jordan over in this clip.
And on that note, one of the many things that the president-elect promised that he would do was and is to pardon many of the January 6 rioters. We heard Vice President-elect J.D. Vance say last week that if anyone committed violence on that day, they should not be pardoned. He added there's a little bit of a gray area there. But according to the DOJ, 608 people have been charged with assaulting, resisting, or obstructing officers. 174 of those defendants have been charged with using a deadly or dangerous weapon against police officers. So do you agree with Vice President-elect Vance that those people should not be pardoned?
I think all along, whether it's President Trump, Vice President Vance, people who didn't engage in violence should be pardoned. I think that's where the American people are. I think that's where the president.
What about those who did engage in violence?
I think then you go case by case, and if they've done some violent activity against some police officer, maybe not. Maybe they shouldn't be. And I think J.D. pointed that out. But I think the way pardons work, it's a power solely with the president, case by case, person by person, and the president has complete authority to pardon who he wants to pardon. But I think he's going to focus on the people who didn't commit any violence. I think certainly warrant a pardon. But I think on the 174 number you pointed out, I think he goes case by case and looks at those.
But you will be okay if even one of those 174 is pardoned?
The way our Constitution works, it's a power of the president.
No, I know,
the president
but what's your
was clear
opinion?
about this. That's up to the president. If the president thinks that's warranted, he's the one who will look at the facts along with his counsel, along with the justice. They will look at all the facts, but then he will make the decision, and that's how it works in America. It's a power that is exclusively with the president of the United States.
TikTok is now dark in the United States.
And that was the only follow-up there because she switched over to TikTok. But he didn't look at the cases. He wasn't president long enough to have his own Justice Department go case by case. He did not go case by case. Here, this is like that excerpt. This was a cut and paste. That's why when I pasted it into my text editor, it's like trying to spell check some of the last names there. But basically, he commuted the sentence of these 14 people and then gave a full, complete, unconditional pardon to every single other person convicted. Now, there's some people who haven't been convicted yet. I don't know what. So I guess there are a few people with pending who haven't been convicted yet, but that maybe that'll be like some later pardon. But he certainly did not go case by case and leave out the people convicted of violent offenses. That is kind of the opposite of what he did. And the next clip is Speaker of the House Mike Johnson also giving way too much credit to Donald Trump being methodical and case by case on the same issue over here.
Let me ask you about the pardons Mr. Trump has promised for January 6 defendants. When I interviewed him last month, he would not rule out pardoning even those who pleaded guilty to violent crimes. Mr. Speaker, do you believe that someone who assaulted a law enforcement officer on January 6th deserves a pardon?
No, I think what the president said and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance has said is that peaceful protesters should be pardoned, but violent criminals should not. That's a simple determination. It's up to the president on that, but there's been a lot of talk about it, but we'll see what happens.
President-elect Trump, just to be clear, has said he's going to look at everyone. When I interviewed him, he said he's not ruling out anyone. So my question for you, would you oppose a pardon for someone who has pleaded guilty to assaulting a police officer?
Look, every case needs to be evaluated, as he said, but what President Trump is getting at is the lack of faith that people have right now in our system of justice. It was abused for the last few years, under the last 4 years under the Biden administration. The Department of Justice itself was weaponized. When the people lose their faith in our system of justice, that is what leads to all these other concerns. And President Trump's going to restore that. We're going to have new leadership.
Very quickly, we're almost out of time. What will you be listening for? What do you want to hear tomorrow?
And that is the only follow-up. I wish that one of them, either Dana Bash with Jim Jordan or Kristen Welker with the Speaker of the House, had asked specifically about the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, because like I said, I think that's the biggest indicator of Trump's authoritarianism. Is he like trying to pardon and put back on the street his brown shirts, his, the street soldiers of the Trump authoritarian movement, which is the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and all those other January 6 convicted people who he just pardoned. He pardoned them all. So not a case-by-case basis, not what J.D. Vance said the previous week. Jim Jordan and Mike Johnson were basically full of it in their answers, and I waited to do the live stream till I could see which way Trump was going to go. Was he really going to be methodical and case by case and reasonable and only the nonviolent, like trespassers, as they've been saying for so long? No, of course not. So that's one big indicator of where we're going for the next 4 years. I have two more newsmaker clips for you. The first one here is Steve Bannon. You saw that teased by Jon Karl in the ABC This Week with George Stephanopoulos news summary, where he says that the fact that all these, like the three richest people in America were right behind Donald Trump at the inauguration, or got to sit in his like VIP area. I'm talking about Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos were all there, and several other oligarchs that Joe Biden in his farewell address warned us about the oligarchs. You saw in like the teaser clip from the ABC News summary that Steve Bannon is claiming, well, Donald Trump isn't doing the bidding of the oligarchs. He's gotten the oligarchs to surrender to him. He broke the oligarchs, and I don't know. That seems like a not great analysis of the power of these rich people in the Trump administration. And it also reminds me that I don't know if you notice, I have this new book right here. I just bought this book because this is On Tyranny by Timothy Snyder, a Yale professor. 20 lessons from the 20th century. Because I was talking a few weeks ago about, I even did like the topic of my live stream was anticipatory obedience, people obeying in advance. And I couldn't remember where the concept of how when societies become authoritarian, one of the signs is that people obey in advance. Well, that was Timothy Snyder in On Tyranny here. And he also came up with this kind of funny way of looking at the fight between Steve Bannon and Elon Musk and the oligarchs, is that one side thinks that oligarchy is the road to fascism, and the other side thinks fascism is the road to oligarchy. And that's like the fight that's going on here. Here is Steve Bannon making his argument that the oligarchy is the road to the fascism that he wants, talking to Jon Karl on ABC yesterday over here.
What do you make of the fact that sitting there with him, I guess now we're inside, but you're going to see the three richest Americans ever. You're going to see Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, prime seats. That doesn't seem like the forgotten men and women that Trump talked about last time. Are you surprised to see that?
I am not. They're there as supplicants. They're not there as the oligarchs. Remember what Biden said about the oligarchs. Jonathan, you know better than anybody because you've chronicled this in detail. We had no power. President Trump was out, and I mean when out, the political class in the Republican Party and Fox News turned against him. We're going to make him a non-person.
He was banned from their platforms.
For, I think, 18 months. But as soon as Zuckerberg said, I've been invited and I'm going, the floodgates opened up and they were all there knocking, trying to be supplicants. So I look at this, and I think most people in our movement look at this as President Trump broke the oligarchs. He broke them, and they surrendered. They came and said, oh, we'll take off any constraints. There'll be no more checkings, everything. And when Biden talks about that, they create the oligarchs. They only became oligarchs, and they flipped on them when they had surrendered, and now they're going to come to Trump saying, I view this as September of 1945, the Missouri, and you have the Imperial High Command,
the Imperial Japanese,
and he's like Douglas MacArthur. They're there to. That is an official surrender, okay? And I think it's powerful.
Mark Zuckerberg is there. Do you believe his conversion?
Absolutely not. I think Mark Zuckerberg's a criminal. I think in a properly adjudicated, yes, for 2020, for the Zuckerbucks. But I want to see that. I want to see that in a systematic adjudication, either in the House or, I think, better with a grand jury and a special prosecutor to go through 2020.
You want Trump's Justice Department under Trump to prosecute
I didn't say that.
Mark Zuckerberg.
I didn't say that. What I want is the House to do it first. But if they're not prepared to do it, a special counsel set up that looks at the 2020 election and looks at it seriously and adjudicates it. If there's nothing there, there's nothing there. Zuckerberg's, road to Damascus came a little late. It was after the 5th of November. It's very, now he wants to be a bro. He kung fu fights. He's going to UFC. He's got his hair done differently. He's cut. That doesn't hack it with me. That guy will flip on President Trump, and he'll flip on us in a second. When it's convenient for him, he will flip.
I mean, there's no evidence that he did anything that affected the outcome of the election. You called Elon Musk a truly evil person.
Yeah.
It's a little harsh.
It was set in context. Let's see what he did is that he came out and he called American citizens. He retweeted something called "Our workers retards," said that we were not up to speed to take any of these jobs. He said that the MAGA movement was a bunch of racists and that they should be turfed out of the Republican Party. And Elon, because he's tweeting all the stuff all the time, he may or may not mean that. But to me, there has to be an accounting for that. Now, listen, he's, like I said, he's done great things. He supported us in 2024. And that was a major reason that President Trump won. Everybody knows he supported the ground game.
When you go after Elon Musk the way you have, so harshly, do you get blowback from Trump? Does he reach out to you and say, "Knock it off. This is my ally. This guy helped me"?
I never disclose anything in conversation with the president or even with the staff or anything like this. But I would just duly note, I didn't see any leaks in the press about the staff or anybody having problems with it. So I don't ask them. My permission structure is not to go back and ask people for permission because I'm.
Well, if Trump told you directly, "Knock it off, Bannon. This is my guy," would you knock it off?
If President Trump has a conversation with me, I'll keep that conversation between President Trump and myself. How's that?
Donald Trump has them as guests down at Mar-a-Lago. He's at the inauguration. They're in his administration. I mean, I understand you're saying it's a surrender, but
let's be clear about this. Trump's not making out. And when you say guest, he's not making an outbound call. Yeah. They're stacked up at Mar-a-Lago like planes on a Friday night over LaGuardia. Okay, they're trying to get a landing slot to get in there and be a supplicant.
Elon Musk is basically living there.
He is living. He's got, I think, a cottage there.
I mean, Trump seems to like having him around.
I would see President Trump would let you know if he didn't.
So yeah, that was the ABC coverage of the split in the Trump on the people surrounding Trump between the Steve Bannon wing and the oligarch wing. And is that something that's going to impede the ability of the Trump administration to get things done? I mean, that's one of the things to watch because the only thing that really Trump delivered on in his first term was the tax cuts for the rich and the corporations. That was one of his real promises kept. And that is something that he's likely going to deliver on in his one big beautiful bill. And he's going to like help the rich and the corporations. And these working class people who gave him his victory, they're just going to like lose all sorts of government benefits. And how is that going to like keep his coalition together between the oligarchs and the working class? Hopefully this is the seeds of a big split in the Trump administration, but that remains to be seen. And maybe I'll be covering it with content, just not a weekly live stream. And I noticed that Jon Karl let Steve Bannon get away with calling Mark Zuckerberg a criminal for his Zuckerbucks thing, which that seems extra harsh, and especially since Steve Bannon is like a pardon criminal for trying to scam people out of money supposedly going towards Trump's wall. And he was like arrested on some like Chinese oligarch's yacht, or whatever. Do I have that right? Was it Chinese? I can't even remember anymore. But anyway, there was definitely some follow-ups there that Jon Karl could have done, but I guess didn't want to upset his guest. And speaking of upsetting the guest, over on CBS News's Face the Nation, Margaret Brennan had on Lindsey Graham, who tends to get upset when he's being interviewed and asked questions he doesn't like. I don't know, is it a sexist term, a gender term to call someone a drama queen? I don't know. This is kind of like the final Lindsey Graham drama queen clip of my 12 years of the Sunday clip roundups and Monday media mix-ups. This is my final newsmaker clip before my bonus Cheech and Chong the Kittens clip at the end. Here, this is also actually a big indicator of whether Trump is going to be authoritarian. It's the Kash Patel nomination at the FBI, which is one of those 4 problematic headaches that Fox News didn't explain in the clip I didn't show you. But here you'll see that Margaret Brennan asks a reasonable question about how, like, even in the last Trump administration, Trump's Attorney General Bill Barr said all these disparaging things about Kash Patel, and Lindsey Graham, like, does like all sorts of distraction techniques and gets all hot under the collar by the end of this clip. And then by the end, I think Margaret Brennan kind of disparages her own network in a way that I'll explain to you after we watch that last newsmaker clip of my last Monday media mix-up together over here.
Let me ask you about the Senate, though, because you are on the Judiciary Committee. Kash Patel, the pick to run the FBI, doesn't even have a hearing scheduled yet. In his 2022 memoir, Bill Barr said of Kash Patel, he's someone with no background as an agent, would never be able to command the respect necessary to run the day-to-day operations of the Bureau. He has virtually no experience that would qualify him to serve at the highest level of the world's preeminent law enforcement agency. The idea of moving him into a role like this showed a shocking detachment from reality. Was Attorney General Barr wrong then and wrong now?
Yeah, he was wrong then, he's wrong now, and I take my advice on Kash Patel from Trey Yingst, dear friend from South Carolina who worked with Kash. Kash was a public defender, he was a prosecutor, he worked with Trey Yingst about the Russia hoax, so I do think he has the experience, he has the trust of the president, and we'll see how all this plays out. But Trey Yingst is enthusiastically supporting Kash Patel, and that means a lot to me.
Well, okay, but he's got a list he's published, Kash Patel has. He published it in a book of enemies. It includes people like the FBI director, Defense Secretary Austin, Bill Barr, former White House counsel Pat Cipollone, former CIA director Gina Haspel, the head of CENTCOM. I mean, do you take him at his word here that these are an enemies list and you're going to put him in a law enforcement role to go after him?
I believe the hearing will expose him to be a very qualified man of the law. He wrote a book. He'll have to answer questions about what's in the book. But I'm ready to vote for him because I know him too. See, you never asked me about the Russia hoax that he exposed. People on the right believe that he was part of the solution, not the problem. You asked a good question of Brett. Has Israel suffered because of this war? They went too far on the world stage. Here's what's happened on the world stage. The International Criminal Court is going to be sanctioned by the Congress, Republicans and Democrats, because they're trying to prosecute the Prime Minister and Defense
Lindsey Graham, this is a far cry from the question about Kash Patel. You took me all the way to Israel from Kash Patel. Are you you're committing to vote for him no matter what?
Yeah. Well,
you are going to vote for
Kash
Kash Patel?
I won't say no matter what, but yes, I am ready to vote for Kash Patel because you will never ask me the role he played in exposing the darkest moment of the FBI since J. Edgar Hoover. That's why I trust him.
Okay. Ask him about going after journalists, which he's also said. I'm interested in the answer to that question.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We'll be right back.
Sure Democratic friends will ask him, and you shouldn't worry about Kash Patel.
Okay.
You should worry about reporting the news fairly, which you don't do when it comes to everything Trump.
Lindsey Graham, you're a guest on this program because we wanted to hear you out. And we welcome you back, as we often do, anytime, to Legacy Media. We'll be right back.
I thought legacy media was kind of a disparaging term. Did she just disparage her own network? Anyway, I pretty much pre-criticized that clip. I had to mention pre-criticizing one more time in one of my live streams here. And that's all the newsmaker clips. I think I made my point about Trump dictator on day one, the danger of his January 6th pardons of the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys and maybe the appointment of Kash Patel. I will be back with, I've been promising a video about the future of my channel, and I haven't had a chance to make that because of I had some extra ACLU work this week, and I have some of that coming up this week. I'm actually going to an ACLU press conference at the west steps of the Sacramento State Capitol tomorrow, the first full day of the Trump administration, and there's all sorts of ACLU stuff going on. I may do videos about, I hope to make 3 or 4 videos a week, now that I'm not doing a week, 3 or 4 videos a month, excuse me, now that I'm not doing a weekly show, but I did promise a final Cheech and Chong the Kittens clip. I think I'm going to have to reorient this as I play it. So here, let me try to fix that over here. Wait, let me try one more time. Did I get the right? I spit it. Okay, that was a little bit of a final chair battle. I hope you appreciated all the time and effort I put into these weekly live streams. As I said, I will be back with additional content, hopefully by next Monday, around the time you'd be expecting a live stream. I'll have my video about the future content of my channel and how things are going to change. But I appreciate all of you who showed up for the live show, all my recorded show viewers, all the support I've gotten from my viewers over the years. Like I said, I'm going to continue making content all the way through at least the 20th anniversary of my channel on July 2026, since I started in July 2006. But until I have some reason to upload a video, I guess I will be seeing all of you around the internet.